So something that came up that was interesting over the week that really spurred me to make it a topic for our weekly session, and that is what I started to consider to be Exorcist Step One. You guys in the past, if you've been with me for any period of time, have heard me talk about, when you are trading and you have an opinion and you're bullish, you're bearish, you're bearish, you're bullish, and you feel like that part in the movie where she sits up and her head spins around. And a lot of times we feel like that too often, and we get addicted to the suspense and the thought that we have to have an opinion and trade every time we have an opinion. Whereas most people are so much better off having a master opinion, understanding that there's going to be some opinions underneath that, but you don't have to get pulled in that direction and all of a sudden get long if you're bullish, and then you're bearish and get short and get long. And why not? It's going to go up. I should be long. Instead of staying patient to what your overall thought is. And so I thought the best way to visualize this was in our chalkboard here, our blank screen share. When you get into your step one, which we all should know now is our opinion. Are you bullish or bearish? Do you think the price is going to go up or down before you get into your location and then your win moment or your fire moment in the whole ready, aim, fire progression? So let me bring up something that I think you'll find that'll be visually might help make more sense. If you have, let me draw this first. Let's go with a white marker. And if you have the market doing this, let's just pretend all we know is some chart pattern stuff or whatever, right? And whatever, chart looks like that, right? And you come in and you have an opinion that is bearish, okay? For what you're looking for the time frame you're looking at, and understanding that your bearish opinion is on a certain time frame. And so you could have a bearish opinion on the market that you don't trade because it's too macro. All right. Then you could have a bearish opinion that's a little smaller. And then you could have a bearish opinion that just comes up in these little red dots, which mean the market is very short-term bearish, but not what you're looking for. Kind of that sweet spot or trade that you're waiting for. And in a discussion with another trader, the question of, this is the trade I'm waiting for. How often do you only take trades that you could say, this was the trade I'm waiting for? I didn't get sucked in. I didn't get marketed to by the market telling me to buy, sell, get long, get short. I stayed to what I thought was going to happen, and I played it from that side, even though you're going to have these thrown at you at different time frames that sometimes make you look like the Exorcist, or that part of the movie where she leans up and her head spinning around. If I were to draw green circles, these are your bullish, let's say, macro, but you don't trade macro. A little bit more of a smaller time frame. And then you got all these little green dots, which are, the puke tool could be these little green or red dots where you see a bunch of like buying come in, or longs rather come in, and it can't go up. So that's a red dot. That would be a bearish opinion you could have, right? So a lot of people I think do is they conflate their step 3 with their step 1 too often. They're using step 3 to get them bullish or bearish, not get them long or short. And they're bullish in a step 1, but they see all these red dots of being bearish. Red dots, all this means is you're bullish or bearish. Green if you're bullish, red if you're bearish in a step 1. And macro, longer time frame, medium time frame. I can't define the time frames, just trying to be general. The little dots, though, are going to be sprinkled all throughout the chart. That's why I thought the way to host this session and explain it the best I possibly could is to make it visual. And so there might be a bullish to bearish transition, or let's call it, because I already got the green. There might be a bearish to bullish transition in there, correct? But there were little red bearish moments there. There might be a red bearish moment here or here. So there are red and green bearish and bullish moments all throughout the chart, and for the right reasons. No matter what tools you're looking at, you are very often could sprinkle this with moments that the market is bullish, it's bearish. The Exorcist, the woman sitting up, was she a woman? I think it was a kid, wasn't it? Sitting up in her bed and her head spinning around. If you were to try to make trades or question your opinion every time that the market seemed like it was changing its opinion on a very short time frame, you're going to go crazy. It's going to talk you out of this opinion you have, this step 1 that you have. And so you really got to continue to work on asking yourself, is this the trade I was waiting for? Is this my step 1, or am I letting step 3s, which happen all the time up and down the chart, step 3s, which are fire moments, they're happening up and down the chart, and you'll get yourself to go crazy if you are just, trying to have trades on all these, what would be opinions that you think the market's making, instead of saying, this was maybe a place to execute my bullish opinion, or this was the reason why I got bullish, or I'm bullish before the day started for XYZ. But what does that mean? The first red dot you see on a smaller time frame, all of a sudden your opinion has to go from bullish to bearish. And so that's what you get caught up or addicted to, the suspense, or allow yourself to get addicted to the suspense and allow yourself to get distracted by the noise instead of listening to the beat. You're not used to writing music or playing an instrument. It's different than if you are used to reading notes and reading music, and what you hear is different than what a novice hears. And that's, if you ever watch those reality shows where they're listening to someone sing or play an instrument or record a song, what they know about the voice and the instruments are so much different than someone just listening and dancing to the music. So it's the same thing with trading. Don't allow yourself to get so wrapped up in, I was bullish, but why not take a short trade because it is bearish? Are you that good to do that? You got to be honest with yourself. Are you that good to be able to do that? And the answer probably is no, not yet. And if you are, you got to know the risks of changing your opinion, your overall main opinion, by getting distracted with some noise. Could take you out and beat you up for the trade that you should have been waiting for and take. That's what a lot of people, I think, not a lot of people, I think it does happen to a lot of people. Some have a problem with it. Some will have it be a problem once in a while. But just assume accurately, not even assume, know that any chart you look at is going to be bullish and bearish and be yelling out, buy me, sell me all the time. And you have to stick to an opinion you have or a step one that you have. And if your step one changes, fine. But don't let a bunch of step threes and the noise always change your step one. Or else, because it doesn't matter if it's the puke tool you're using for your step three or some delta variation or whatever you use to get in and click, whatever it might be, all these tools will always scream, buy me, sell me on different time frames. You could just use an ancillary correlated market and it moves up and the ES moves up. And if there was a lead lag or something between the two markets, that would be screaming, buy me, sell me, buy me. And you get caught up in the noise in that. So the point is, understand there's going to be noise. And the market's job is to try to get you to buy or sell it. It's trying to get you to market. It's literally marketing to you, to us. And our job is let the other guys buy it too high, sell it too low. That creates the richness or cheapness of price. Now, you got to know when you're it's okay to bounce back and forth, but at least if you recognize it, you have a chance to get better and fix it. And you could be doing well and then you're struggling. And the reason why you're struggling is because you go back to this. You're just not fluid in your progression. So let me show you, change the screen share a second and go to the puke tool and kind of give a sense of what do I mean with a real chart behind it. Do you guys see the puke tool now? And so if you look at it and go, that could be because of this, a moment to get bullish. All right. But are you just bullish because of that? Are you conflating your step three all the time for a step one? Are you already bearish? And it would have been fine to be bearish, even though the market ended up rallying all the way back up to here. It would have been fine to be bearish down here. You just don't want little things to change your opinion. Know what little things are, I guess, as well, is maybe a better way to explain it. Know that little things are going to be out there and they're going to try to trip you up. And it's your job to pay attention to the signal, to your convictions. Have transitional moments, fine. But if it's a little bullish, if there's some bullish little green dots, the noise, and you're bearish, that's just a moment not to get short yet. Not a moment to necessarily let me get long. And then you get long and it works. So you say, okay, that's good. And then you do it again and it doesn't work. Then you do it again, it doesn't work. And then your short step one trade comes and you're kind of beaten up and pissed and you miss it. And that was a winner. So instead of making one trade on your progression, you made three and missed one and you're down money. You did more for less because you didn't stick to a plan because you allowed the market to market to you. And that's why you can't use anything that just signals buy me, sell me. You have to qualify. The puke tool allows you to qualify an opinion, and the opinion is to qualify when to use the puke tool, your step, your progression, your area. There's something that we come up with and continuing to get better with the MBO data and filter it out that you can use every single time. I'll tell you. But just know your progression and don't get surprised when you're bearish. The market's showing you some bullish signals. If that's always good enough to get you bullish, you're going to probably get yourself twisted around and looking like the girl sitting up in the bed with her head spinning around. And that's when you're making poor trades and you're taking trades you shouldn't, and you're missing trades you should take. And you're saying yes to when you said, you're saying yes when you should say no, and you're saying no when you should say yes to certain trades. And good question to write down and say, is this a trade? Post it on your monitor. Is this a trade I'm waiting for? Or is it something that the salesman knocked on my door and convinced me to buy it or sell it, right? You got marketed to. It's okay to get marketed to. It's not okay to just jump at every potential breakout that we're going to get or going to have. Let it fit into the story that you're building and that you're trying to tell yourself. And if you're confused and you don't have, well, then work on your story, damn it. Certainly not the time to trade if you're really confused and not knowing when to pull the trigger. You're working on it. Everybody thinks they have to trade in order to learn to trade. You're going to learn a lot more before you start cutting the patient open, right? If you're a surgeon, everybody, unfortunately, could trade as soon as they open and fund an account. They could flip it on and they could start cutting into a patient and performing heart surgeries. Most people could do that. You're not allowed to do that if you were in a professional environment and you would have a set of eyes over your shoulder when you did go live. So you couldn't trade bigger and you were held to account to what we're doing wrong, because we're not the best ones to criticize ourselves, especially if we're not really good at knowing what we're doing. A great doctor who's great at what he's done could criticize himself a little bit better than someone in first year of med school. So that's just food for thought. It's something I had a conversation with someone I've been working with, and it came up, and it was like, you always are going to have moments where the market's telling you, hey, I know you're bullish, but going down, baby, sell me. And that's part of being, but you got to be willing to miss moves, because you ain't going to catch them all. Be willing to miss it if you're not supposed to take it. Sometimes people, they allow themselves to miss trades they shouldn't, and then they don't miss trades that they should have missed. And another thing, I was talking with someone, if when you are about to take a trade, and if you say to yourself, if I don't take this trade, I have to document it as a missed trade. Well, then why wouldn't you take it? And think about it in real time. If I don't take this trade, will I have to document it as a missed trade? If the answer is yes, then it should get you to take the trade more, because things are fitting. So I'm going to end record for this session, answer a couple questions, and then go over anything that's real time. Actually, I'm going to answer this question because it's going to be good to have it recorded. Someone says, I find sometimes the better entries are when the market moves against my bias first. When I do enter opposite of my bias, then I miss the trade I was waiting for in the first place. Exactly. What you allowed yourself to do is be patient, and everybody else got long, shook out. You're on the other side of the shakeout. You got addicted to the suspense. You got marketed to. You were bullish in that case, and the market's a little bearish, so you get short. Then you missed the long, and that would have worked. You took a trade you shouldn't have taken. You missed a trade you should have taken. And the reason why it looked bearish and you were bullish is because it was, maybe. That's great. You get everybody else doing what you were doing as a mistake. Markets move because people are making mistakes all over the place and getting themselves traps all over the place. We're navigating through a, old warehouse with a mouse problem. And there's all kinds of mouse traps set up. And that's what the markets are. When you look at the chart, there's traps all over the place. We're trying to get better and better and better at seeing others get trapped, not yourself. The mistakes that you made will still be made. just made by the other masses to create the opportunity. There's only opportunity when the other side is emotional. When the other side gets emotional, it's because they're getting stuck, starting to lose money, and they have to chase. Just keep going back. The price does not rally until you create an imbalance of not buyers and sellers only, but you get there by creating an imbalance of positions. You need to get an imbalance of positions before you get an imbalance of buyers and sellers. You get more buyers and less sellers, you start to rally. But when by the time you see that, it could be too late. When you see an imbalance of longs and shorts, that's too many shorts, too many buyers, less longs, less sellers. There's my too many buyers, too many sellers to anticipate we're going to go up. And most people wait to see the imbalance, the buyers and sellers. And by that time, they're using price to predict price. It's rallying or rallied, and now I'm bullish. Instead of being long, you're just now bullish. Instead of, anticipating and you're going to make money on predicting. You're not making money on guessing. You're not making money after it's obvious. You're making money on others being wrong and predicting and anticipating where that moment is where they're going to say, uncle. The imbalance of positions.